Morning, everyone. We're just going to give everyone a minute to trickle in and we'll get started in just a few moments. All right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Business Support Series webinar. Thank you for joining us this morning. We've added a live closed captioning service to improve our accessibility. So there should be a closed caption button along your toolbar. Oh, I'm not seeing it. It might not be working. Okay, I might have lied. Apologies, everyone. Let me check into that and I'll get back to you. But for now, I'm Emma, Communications Manager with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and your host this morning. So we've been watching the technological revolution for quite a few years now, but 2020 really highlighted the need for businesses to be online and available. E-commerce sales more than doubled in 2020, according to a Statistics Canada poll, and consumer behaviors have shifted. And although brick and mortar shops are far from gone, businesses need to be online. This is more than just a social media page. We are talking about e-commerce. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions for our presenter. And when we get to the Q&A, both halfway through this morning and at the end, feel free to type any other questions into that Q&A box along the bottom. And I see that the live transcript button has appeared along your bottom toolbar. So if you want to turn those on, just click it and click Show Subtitle. Our presenter today is Graham McDonald, Sales Specialist with Sona. Sona is an affinity partner of the Halifax Chamber, a longtime partner, and they guarantee cost savings for your business, or they will actually pay for your membership. So they must have a great product. We know they do. We use them as well. So check them out for competitive pricing and tailored solutions to simplify your payment acceptance. Now, Graham's role with Sona is to help businesses grow and save on their bottom line through leading edge technology and expertise on developing omnichannel business solutions. Welcome, Graham. Over to you.
Hi, thanks, Emma. I appreciate it. I just want to thank everyone for joining this morning, and thank the Chamber of Commerce as well. These are great events to shed some spotlight on some new technology coming in the industry. So, I guess we'll get started. If I can move forward, there we go. So first, you're probably going to want to know a little bit about me. So my name is Graham McDonald, like Emma said. I was born and raised in Halifax. I'm a St. Mary's University graduate of May last year. And I was joking to Emma and Kayla this morning that this kind of brought back some memories of putting together presentations for school. So it was a welcomed event here. I work with Sona, as Emma mentioned. I'll touch on Sona a little bit after this slide, but I work in a business development role with Sona. My e-commerce experience, so on my own, I've used multiple e-commerce platforms and ran stores just on my own. And then with Sona, I've actually helped develop clients' e-commerce channels as well. And then just the last thing about me, I love golf. Anytime that I can get out and play golf, that's what I'm probably going to be doing. So I'm not the best, but I do love it. So as Emma touched a little bit, we are an affinity partner with the Chamber of Commerce. So anything in terms of payment acceptance or business development is where kind of Sona would help. We're taking on a different approach to merchant services and payment processing. We're really taking the time to speak with business owners and dive into exactly what they need and provide a tailored solution. We're not just trying to force solutions on people that they may not need. So with Sona, we'll take the time to develop a plan that will actually work for you and something that you actually need. And obviously, cost savings hopefully will come along with that, but it's more about tailored solutions and actually finding a solution that will work for you. So we believe in accountability. Like I mentioned, we're trying to take a different approach on the payment industry. We are a local company. We're a Halifax-based, Atlantic Canadian-based company. We do have agents and merchants all across Canada and into the United States as well. Most of you may have seen us around Atlantic Canada with our Clover devices, the white ones with the touchscreen. So that's maybe how you've seen us before, and then through the chamber as well. And then a pretty cool milestone we hit last year was just over $1 billion in transactional volumes that have run through our machines and e-commerce platforms that we have out there in the market. So we're, as a company, we're versatile. There's just a few of our larger merchants that we work with, but we work with any size of business, whether it's, just starting or, all across the country. We're agile enough to be able to work with any type of business. When this was created, this slide, it was, we just had over 2,000 merchants, but we're up to 2,500 now. So we're one of the largest growing payment processing companies in Canada. And then with that as well, we're seeing this change that Emma had mentioned there, with consumer behavior shifting to more e-commerce and online sales. So as a company as well, we're also shifting and diving more into e-commerce solutions. And because we don't want to be left behind with the industry changing. So we're really diving into e-commerce. And that's something that I've taken on as well, is learning a lot more about e-commerce. So I guess to start, why should you consider e-commerce? Through my schooling, I was kind of into stats. So I have 3 statistics on the left here that are pretty compelling. In February to May of 2020, retail sales actually fell, obviously due to COVID as an accelerant there. However, retail e-commerce sales nearly doubled. And then obviously retailers relying more on e-commerce as a method of sale. The number one reason why people shop online is that they're able to shop at all hours of the day. So for customers, it's very convenient for them. And then especially, I know the younger generation, millennials and Gen Zs, we're living more on our phones now. So, it's a very popular thing to do. And for us, it just kind of feels at home. We feel at home with the technology, and that's, more consumers day to day are becoming more comfortable with shopping online. So it's very convenient for customers. In 2019, e-commerce sales worldwide amounted to just over $3.5 trillion. And then, e-commerce sales are projected to grow to just over $6.4 trillion US dollars in 2022. So it's definitely growing, and, it's one of the most popular online activities. So what does this mean for you, and why should you consider it? This just shows that there's a huge market size out there, and it's growing. So to put your business in that pool of $3.5 to $6.5 trillion of sales, it's a huge market that you could be tapping into. As I mentioned, consumer behavior is changing. So every day consumers are looking for a more convenient way to shop, and that is e-commerce for a lot of customers. A great thing with e-commerce is that there's no geographical limitations, and your website and your store is open 24 hours a day for any time zone. So kind of the whole world is your market with e-commerce, and it is efficient and affordable. Previously, it might have been a daunting task, years ago to set up an e-commerce channel, but now with some growing technologies, it's actually quite easy to get online, and it's not as expensive as you think. So this presentation is kind of all around how to select an e-commerce platform and what goes into that. So you'll have to know exactly what an e-commerce platform is. In its simplest form, an e-commerce platform is a software that enables the commercial process of buying and selling over the internet. You can manage your website, marketing, sales, and operations on an e-commerce platform. That's a lot of words to just say it's a website where you can sell your products, and you can also market and things like that. But it's your platform that you are selling your products on and showcasing your business to the internet. Really, the only alternative to an e-commerce platform is building a website from scratch. This is viable for large companies that, very IT heavy organizations that want to put in the time and upfront cost to develop their own website and own shopping cart and everything like that. But for most businesses and most, mid to small size businesses, it's just going to make sense to head towards an e-commerce platform. So there are 2 types of e-commerce platforms. The first one is open source, and then the second one is software as a service. Software as a service has been booming, and then we'll touch on a couple examples of software as a service. But some of the highest growing e-commerce platforms are SaaS based. So what exactly is an open source platform? An open source e-commerce platform is a solution which you can modify all aspects of the code. So it's a popular solution for organizations that have a development team on staff or are IT heavy organization. And these are companies that want maximum control over the way that they sell online. With open source e-commerce platforms, you can host your website on premise. If you do have servers at your location, you can use those to host your website. So it just adds a bit more control over hosting and keeping your website online. That's essentially what hosting means, is just keeping your websites up and running. And you can also use third-party organizations out there to use their hosting platform to get your website up and running. With open source, the business or the IT department is responsible for PCI compliance, which is a huge topic in the payments industry. It's all about protecting and securing your customer information. So with an open source platform, that's something that you will have to develop. Hosting, like I mentioned, you have to figure out a way to get the website online and available to anybody who searches for it. You have to manually patch and update the website if there's anything, any bugs or anything that you find with it. Any security issues, again, that's something that you'll have to address. And then specific tools for the website, like discounts and promotions, SEO and email marketing. And if you do want like a drag and drop easy design builder, that's stuff with an open source e-commerce platform that you'll have to install or develop yourself. Some pros and cons with open source. A pro is flexible hosting. So this gives the business owner the option. With open source, it's a lot about options. So you can choose. It's great because you can choose to host it. If you do have servers at your business, it's great because you can use those, or you can use a third-party hosting platform. So there's options with hosting. Integrations with CRMs. Basically, what I mean by that is, any CRM, customer relationship manager, or database that you use, essentially with open source, you can modify all aspects of the code. So it's basically endless, the capabilities that you have to integrate with things and get things linked and set up. It may take some time and some IT knowledge, but with an open source platform, you can essentially migrate and integrate to anything. And it is scalable. So if you do have the IT to do it, you can build it for small to medium. And then, as you grow, because it's so customizable, you can add and take out things that you used to need, or that you do need now, as your business grows and you have more sales and customers and products. Some cons: it can be complicated building and maintaining an open source platform. It's not an easy one-stop shop. There is going to be some development required. It can be a hassle dealing with, hosting and getting your servers up and running, as well as dealing with a third party and ensuring that they have a quality service that will allow for your website to stay up. And then with open source, in terms of planning and budgeting, it can be tough at times to get a predictable cost of how much this will be. It may vary based on hosting, and I'll get into it in cost, but it's not predictable. There's going to be some variance in how much it costs from person to person. And switching over to SaaS-based e-commerce platforms. So these are some of the fastest growing e-commerce platforms out there. What a SaaS-based e-commerce platform does is essentially remove the complexity of running an online business. So instead of building a solution yourself with custom or open source, you're essentially renting the platform from BigCommerce or Shopify. And those are two of the most popular SaaS platforms out there. So they have the technology and they're essentially renting it out to you. So SaaS platforms come loaded with features, and there's also third-party apps and integrations that help with your online store. So with a SaaS platform, the platform itself, like Shopify or BigCommerce, is responsible for all those things like PCI compliance and hosting, patching and updating if there's any issues with it. That's something that Shopify or BigCommerce will take care of. And then, website tools. These SaaS platforms are designed to come with those tools built in. Some pros and cons with SaaS. So it's very quick to get to market, which is a great thing for businesses. It's super easy to get up and running. It's predictable and affordable, and there's less upfront. So you don't need, to develop and build things. There's not months of development involved. I'll get into how simple it is to get going, but essentially it's just a predictable and less challenging way to get started into e-commerce. It's very easy to use. You need little IT experience or even none to do it. If you can change colors and add pictures and write descriptions for your products, you can use a SaaS-based e-commerce platform. And this is scalable as well. I have a list of some of the largest brands using SaaS platforms. Companies like Red Bull, Hasbro, Pandora, Toyota, Gillette. These companies are using SaaS platforms. And I think it comes down to the fact that it's cheaper for them to use a SaaS platform instead of having an IT department or development department on hand. Having Shopify and BigCommerce take care of all the patches and updates frees up their organization of those IT developments and staffing, people like that. So I think that that's kind of one of the reasons that these larger brands are starting to consider SaaS platforms. One of the cons, it is lacking in flexibility. So because it's developed and offered by a technology company like Shopify or BigCommerce, it's hard to directly customize, and it can lack flexibility sometimes in things that you need. If there's something very specific that you need on your website, there's a good chance that Shopify or BigCommerce may not have it built in right away. So it does lack in flexibility. And then with customizability and design, it's kind of what they offer is what you get. So it's more like a one size fits all with some customizations on the package that you want to go with. They split it up to basic, pro, enterprise levels. So there is some customizability there, but you can't get in and edit the code and really change it that much. So I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions so far. I know that's a lot of technical stuff. If you do, feel free to leave them in the chat bot there, but you can also pipe in if you want.
Oh, just one sec. I saw someone raise their hand and then it disappeared. Person who raised your hand, would you like to do it again, or did we panic? That's fair. I do it too. I have a quick question.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone had submitted, what legal implications do I need to consider?
So legal in terms of, I guess legal, so we can talk about getting set up. So
yeah, exactly.
There's not much that you have to do legally. Anybody can, even sole proprietors and just an individual person can get going on any of these platforms. Really, just as long as you have a bank account and a name and address, you can get going. And then legally, obviously they have terms and conditions on what you can sell and how to operate on the platform. So there is a limitation there on what you can sell and what you can offer on your e-commerce platform. But really no like legal obligations to check off before you get going.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I have one more here. Live customer service is very popular right now. So what kind of live customer service do I need operating in the background if I'm going to run one of these platforms?
So that's something that you definitely want to consider with an e-commerce platform. And that's something that I'll touch on kind of on the next steps and how to actually get going. But definitely do your research on what support these e-commerce platforms offer. I know with COVID, Shopify specifically got rid of their hotline and their support line. So they went to strictly email and article based. A lot of these e-commerce platforms have, a support page where you type in your issue and then they give you articles. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would definitely, I think BigCommerce is still running their support line. So you definitely want to do the research to see if, the platform you're going to consider has a good support line. Because yeah, you don't want to be left kind of stranded without any support. So.
Yep, very true. And we live in a very immediate world. So everyone wants their answers immediately, including myself. We have another question here. Are there any e-commerce platforms you are familiar with that are better geared for fluctuating market sales, like seasonal and farm sales?
So I don't think any of the platforms offer seasonability, like directly like that. But I know that with BigCommerce and Shopify, you can pause your store, which will drop you down to, I think it's a $10 a month plan. So there is some options you have. And you can also cancel your store as well. Like I said, it's not too hard to get back up and running. But if you do have hundreds of products in there, it's probably going to be a hassle every season to reopen and go through that process again. So yeah, you could either pause your store or you could cancel and reopen again when the time comes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. That's all the questions. Oh, we got a thank you so much from Renee. So thank you, Graham.
You're welcome.
And that's all the questions I have in here. So why don't you keep going? And if anyone has any questions throughout, please just feel to drop them in and we will make sure we get to them at the end.
Awesome. So there's, functionality that you should be looking for in an e-commerce platform. There's some definite things that should be in there, especially like for all business sizes. And the reason that's important is that the website is going to be an extension of your brand. So when somebody walks into your store, there's going to be emotions and feelings that they have there. So you want that same type of energy that's in your brick and mortar store, or how you want your brand image portrayed. You want that on your website as well. So things like easy design, and a lot of these are theme based. So gives you a template for easily designing the website. Obviously easy to use, especially if you're a smaller business and you don't want to work with, a development agency or anything like that. To be easy to use and edit products and add discounts and stuff like that is pretty crucial. You obviously want it to show up on Google when they search for your brand. So SEO is huge, search engine optimization. I know that the Chamber hosted an SEO webinar like this in the past. So SEO is definitely huge to consider in a platform. Promotions and discount codes, I touched on that, but it's important to be able to add discounts and promotions. Gift cards in there as well. I think most of these e-commerce platforms do offer some type of gift card program in there as well. Third-party apps and integrations. Look out for stuff like that, like shipping plugins. If you are going to be shipping around the world, like ShipStation and UPS, and just make sure the platform has what you need to integrate to, like even currency converters. Stuff as simple as that. Just make sure that there's those third-party apps to accommodate that. And then integrations I'll touch on as well. But if you are running some type of system in store, if you do have a physical location or you're considering one, make sure that your e-commerce platform has the capability to integrate to that and link up to that and kind of just be seamless for your operations. Email marketing is huge. Just make sure that you can, implement like a MailChimp or a Klaviyo in there. I think most of these facilitate that anyway. Mobile optimization, this one is huge. So I read a stat that 54% of all e-commerce sales come from a mobile device. So like your phone or iPad. So make sure that your website not only looks good on a computer, but make sure that it's able to scale down to a phone and still carry that same design and brand image. And then scalability, you obviously want the platform to grow with you as you grow. And then multiple payment options. We're a payments company, so that's obviously something that's important. Make sure that you're not kind of, stuck with just, make sure you have options basically for payment processing. Yeah, it's your money, so you need to definitely have options there. Omnichannel, I touched on that a bit. I just kind of want to dive into what omnichannel is. It's a huge part of e-commerce and this moving trend. So omnichannel is an approach to sales that focuses on providing a seamless customer experience, whether the customer is shopping online or brick and mortar or on their phone, laptop. It's essentially carrying that same brand image from your brick and mortar to your online. The industry is moving definitely more towards an omnichannel, theme. Even companies like Shopify are offering an in-store POS to complement their e-commerce platform. So it's definitely a way that the industry is moving, is more towards an omnichannel solution. Traditionally, what would happen in the industry is that you would take this time to develop an e-commerce channel. You would code it, you would have it separate to your in-store operations. So really just that merging of the two, making your operations more efficient and most of the time saving you money as well with an omnichannel solution. So what you should do with knowing this information now, where the industry is moving, is just make sure that do your research, make sure that the platform you are considering has these omni-channel integrations and is able to, integrate with your in-store platform. And also things like gift cards as well is huge. You may not think about that, but if somebody purchases a gift card online, are they able to use it in store? So that's a huge customer experience there that you need, just make sure that things like that are considered when choosing a platform. So I wanted to dive into a little evaluation of some e-commerce platforms. So as you can see on the left, there's so many platforms out there. With the shift to e-commerce, there's a lot popping up. From my experience and reading a lot of articles, and even from, my personal experience, I've used all three. And then at Sona, we've done research on all three and helped customers with all three. It's important, or, these are the ones that pop up, seem to always come up, and you've probably heard of most of them. So for time's sake, and, if I did have 10 hours, I could probably go over all of them and evaluate them. But for this, I'm just going to touch on, the three most popular and three best platforms out there for small and medium business and even large business as well. And these three platforms do hit all those functionalities that I mentioned before, theme-based, easy to use, SEO, promotions and discounts, email marketing. They all work on mobile devices. So what you design on your, laptop is going to look good on your phone. So these all hit the targets of the kind of main functionalities you should look for. With Shopify, so Shopify is a SaaS-based e-commerce platform. So getting back to that, you're essentially renting the service from them. It's an all-in-one platform, meaning that hosting comes included, so you don't have to worry about putting it on your servers or finding a third party to host it. Shopify keeps it live for you. And I read a stat as well that Shopify had a 99.97% uptime in the last 5 years. So their hosting is probably competitive or better than a third party or on-site hosting that you could find. So hosting is taken care of with Shopify. It is a subscription-based model. So you go month to month for a monthly cost, depending on the plan that you pick. It does have a great drag and drop editor, so it's very easy to edit the design of your website. And Shopify obviously is a place to sell your products online. And they give you a great admin panel as well to customize your store. So it's very user-friendly the way it's laid out. And you can edit anything from products to discount codes to gift cards to, you can view your orders. There's lots of reporting on there as well. So it's quite easy to use, and there's no coding or IT background needed, which is why these SaaS platforms are really blowing up. So just some kind of pros and cons and just an overview of Shopify. It's a very easy store or platform to set up with their drag and drop interface. Most beginners to website development can get the hang of it in a few minutes. So once you log on, you'll really catch on to Shopify pretty quickly. One of the biggest disadvantages of Shopify that I've found is that the search engine optimization is weak compared to other platforms out there. It's not weak overall, like you're still gonna, index on Google and show up, but it's more like a mid-level rating. So it still gets the job done. There's just some better platforms out there for SEO. And then one thing to touch on as well is that Shopify charges a transaction fee per transaction if you're not using Shopify payments. So Shopify has their own payment gateway, which I'll touch on. But if you're not using their payment method, you're getting charged an extra. It can range from 0.5 to 2%. So that's something to keep in mind as well, going back to the multiple payment options. It is the fastest loading e-commerce platform out there. Super easy to set up. There's lots of certified partners to help you with Shopify. Because it's so popular, there's a lot of third parties out there willing to help you. Sorry, it's there's one-click selling available, meaning that you can upsell somebody. So if they add something to the cart, it'll give a suggestion. Do you want to add that on for? You can even do like 15% off and things like that. So the one-click selling is great on Shopify, and there is some great themes on Shopify as well to help develop and give you a template for your website. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but there are some great options out there. It was rated, poorly in SEO. So that's something to keep in mind. The checkout itself is not really customizable. So you can change logos and colors and things like that. But in terms of the way that the customer goes through the journey of checking out through a Shopify website, that's not customizable. So it's kind of what Shopify offers is what you'll get with a checkout. And then apps can be expensive. So Shopify does come with some key features. But as you look to, add more features to your Shopify site, even stuff like email marketing, it has the capability to integrate, but there's going to be a plan with that. Shipping plugins as well. There's going to be plans with those that'll cost extra monthly. So it's just, good to keep in mind that some of these extra apps that will help your business will cost money and start to add up. BigCommerce is very similar to Shopify, kind of started around the same time, and they're very similar in the way that they work. So you're renting the platform from BigCommerce as well. It is SaaS-based, it's subscription-based, and when we get to pricing, you'll see just how similar they're priced as well. I'll touch on it in the next slide, but it has been rated as kind of a more IT focused SaaS-based platform. So it's still very easy to use for beginners, but the interface, some have reported, is not as easy to use as Shopify. But all that main stuff is still there in your admin panel. And it is still a drag and drop editor, and it's theme-based as well. So, you can get to developing your websites, quickly. I've actually worked with one of our clients here in Halifax, just in Bears Lake, and I designed the BigCommerce website myself. And it was quite easy to use. I had experience previously with Shopify, and then designing BigCommerce was, pretty much the same thing that I did on Shopify. So again, no coding or IT background needed. So BigCommerce is definitely one of the best overall e-commerce platforms out there. It definitely checks the boxes and gets the job done for getting online and selling. It definitely has a more robust SEO capability compared to Shopify. I know that's something that BigCommerce has worked on a lot, and really pushed is making sure that their SEO is kind of top of the industry. It has a great search engine for searching for your products and editing products. So it's great for larger retailers and great for smaller business as well, with not a lot of upfront cost, and it's very easy to use. So again, the drag and drop builder for building your website, if you can drag and drop photos and type in words, then you're going to be able to use BigCommerce. It is more customizable for tech savvy users. So if you do want to get into the APIs and coding things, you can do that a little bit more with BigCommerce. So it's a little bit more flexible for developing a more customized solution. And another thing to highlight with BigCommerce is that there's no per transaction fee for using a third-party gateway. So BigCommerce does not have a preferred payment gateway. You can use any of them out there, and they won't charge you for using one over the other. So that's kind of a good plus with BigCommerce, is you have some more payment options. It is definitely scalable and flexible, especially against Shopify, where you can get in and customize it a little bit more. It excels with multi-channel selling, so you can sell similar to Shopify. I mean, you can sell products on Amazon, on eBay, Facebook, and Instagram, and integrate that right with your website. Strong SEO performance. It ranks top of some of the most popular e-commerce platforms out there for SEO. Sometimes with BigCommerce, as you get more products in there and start to grow, it can be inconsistent loading speed. It's by no means going to be really slow, but some customers may get loaded on instantly, and some may take half a second to a second longer to load up. The way that I'll touch on it with pricing, but the way that BigCommerce does their subscription plans is there's a cap on the amount of annual volume that you can do through the base plan, and then after you hit that threshold, I think it's $50,000. Once you go over $50,000 of sales, you do have to bump up to the next plan. So high volume stores do end up paying more. And there's no one-click selling built into it. So you can't, add like a a suggested product for 15% off at the checkout. Yeah, and then so WooCommerce, another really popular one that ticks the boxes. It's a different platform. So this one is an open source platform. So going back to SaaSbased and open source, it is a WordPress open source plugin. So essentially what it does is add an e-commerce function to any WordPress site. Excuse me. So it's technically free. I'll get into that, the reason I had to have the asterisk, but essentially you take a WordPress site and you add e-commerce to it with WooCommerce. It's great for businesses that already have a WordPress site and are already familiar with WordPress. So WooCommerce is the best single platform to run an e-commerce and affiliate site under one roof, because it's a WordPress site or WordPress plugin. It's definitely one of the best platforms to do that on. There can be some problems with scalability. So some users have reported it slowing down as they get more products and customers in there. I think that goes back to it just being a plugin and not a full platform. If you're familiar with WordPress, then WooCommerce is going to be a breeze for you. Just install your products and adjust some settings, and it's that simple. Some users can struggle with technical details, so it's not as easy to set up as a SaaS platform. And when I used it myself, it was a bit confusing at first to really understand the back end of it and navigate it. It's all seems to be plugin based and extension based. So doing the research to find the right extension for even simple things is sometimes tough to navigate. It is the best for SEO for sure, because it's based on WordPress. WordPress is some of the best SEO out there. So WooCommerce benefits from that WordPress search engine optimization. There are one-click selling apps available, so you can upsell customers at checkout. And there's lots of service providers for hosting and plugins and extensions, things like that. It's very popular, so there's a lot of support that you'll get there for options. Hosting can be expensive depending on the bandwidth that you need for your servers and for your hosting. It can be difficult to troubleshoot because it's a plugin based system. It's not all under one roof for support. So your site may be having an issue, but it may not be WordCommerce or WooCommerce itself. It may be one of the plugins you're using, so you have to go in and find what exactly is the problem and who to talk to solve that. So support can be difficult and troubleshooting can be tough. And then, like I mentioned, it needs a lot of extensions to do the basic functionalities, but they are there, so you can install those extensions. I guess I think I saw a question pop up. So if we wanted to take another break for questions, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So the first one is, do e-commerce platforms have the ability to estimate shipping costs to different parts of the world?
They do, yeah. So the ShipStation that I mentioned is a very popular one that businesses are using. It is a monthly plan, but it gives you, the business, an estimate, and it also gives the customer an estimate when they check out. So if there is shipping available for them, then they can put in their address and it'll give an estimate cost on how much that shipping will be.
Wow, okay, I definitely didn't know that. That's super cool. All right, our next one is, do you have any suggestions on integrating SaaS platforms with inventory and accounting software?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Here in Canada, QuickBooks and Xero and Sage are kind of your top three. I know QuickBooks is definitely the largest, and all three of these platforms do integrate with QuickBooks. And Xero, I think BigCommerce and Shopify do. WooCommerce probably does. There's probably an extension out there that will do it. It's probably a third-party developed thing, but you probably can do it. The thing to keep in mind, if you are using it omnichannel and you have an in-store point of sale system, keep in mind that point of sale system probably has an integration as well to QuickBooks or Sage or Xero. So just be careful not to double those up. Pick one and use that one as what's going to integrate with QuickBooks. So if everything is going to run through the inventory on the in-store side, then I would say connect it to your POS system in store. But if you're solely an e-commerce site, and that's how you do your business, then there's definitely integrations available to those accounting softwares.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, what was the shipping fee estimator platform you just mentioned? I forgot what it was called and someone just asked.
So that one that I was mentioning is ShipStation. That's a really popular one. Now with Shopify, I know there's direct integrations to UPS and Canada Post and some of the larger shipping companies out there. So they all compete in that shipping space. And then the way that you would do it is set up shipping zones. So if you're within Canada, or you can do it down by province, so you can set up shipping zones and how much those are going to cost. And then with ShipStation and UPS, they'll give you an estimate of what that'll cost you. And then you can then create those shipping zones to give an estimate to the customers.
Perfect. Thank you, Graham. We have another one here. Do you have any advice using SquareUp as an e-commerce option?
Is that so? Square meaning the popular one with the little payment processor?
I think so. It says up after it. Capital S, capital U. One second. Square up. Oh yes, that's the one. The popular Square. That's the one.
So Square is kind of doing a full. They're doing pretty much everything that you can think of in this industry. They're doing payments and point of sale, and now I guess they're going into e-commerce. I haven't used Square personally, so I don't know, but I would assume that it's directly linked with your in-store POS and e-commerce. So I don't really have as much information on Square for their e-commerce. Sorry.
All right, no worries. Thank you very much. That's all I have for now. If you want to keep going, and then we have some more for the end.
Sounds good. All right, so we'll get into costs. This is definitely an important thing to consider when going into an e-commerce platform. I'm going to move my little camera here so I can see it. So Shopify, this is their plan here. This is what they offer. So basic Shopify for just getting started is going to be $29, and this is USD. So $29 US for their basic Shopify plan. It gives you kind of a comparison of what you're getting, going up the tiers there. But the basic Shopify plan does the trick if you're just starting out. And I know that BigCommerce and Shopify do offer, I think it's a 2-week trial, just to get your website, built and up and running, get used to it. And then you can launch and then start on the month-to-month paying the $30 a month. But there is some flexibility with features that you need and difference in pricing there. And then if you are a large business, you can go over the $299 and actually speak with Shopify directly. And they can do kind of more of a tailored platform to what features you need and tailor it to you. And that would be something that they wouldn't, post so there's a price, but each, enterprise businesses will, have access to more customized solutions. But this is the plan starting out for Shopify. I'd say most people would fall under the $29 a month plan. BigCommerce is shockingly similar in their pricing, starting at $29.95 a month, and that's US as well. Going to $79 and $299, and then that enterprise section as well, where you can get in touch with them and they can, do a custom quote for you. That's really just, kind of businesses that are some of those large brands like Toyota, Gillette, Hasbro, they would go to them and get a quote that way. But most people are going to live again in that standard plan of $29.95. And then mentioning before, if you do go over $50,000 in sales on the standard plan, then you'll have to be bumped up to the $79 a month plan. And I think that one has unlimited volume after that, or it's something like 250,000 to 500,000. But there is kind of volumes that you're allowed to have for each plan. And then just touching on down here for transaction fees, as I mentioned before, BigCommerce has no transaction fees, no matter the plan that you're on for using another payment gateway. If we go back to Shopify, this is the rate that you'll be charged. And then this is the rate that you'll be charged for using another payment option. So if you do want to use, other options that are out there, they'll charge you 2% per transaction on top of what you're going to pay with the other payment solution. So they kind of it is easy to use and easy to set up, but you're kind of stuck with Shopify payments at that point. WooCommerce is definitely tough to estimate because it's not a monthly subscription plan. It can be anywhere from $3.95 to something crazy like $5,000 a month. I don't think most people are going to be up close to $5,000 per month, but really it comes down to, you know, what you need in hosting. So hosting starts at some of the preferred third-party hosting companies at $3.95 a month, and then, you know, their plans and rates kind of vary based on the size and of, you know, servers and bandwidth that you need. So that's all customizable there for your business. Stuff like communications, so like email marketing, things like that. Plugins can be anywhere from free to $29 a month. There's a lot of options out there, and some of them are free, some of them charge. Same thing with search engine optimization. You can use the basic, you know, WordPress SEO, which is really good. But there are also, you know, extensions out there that you can purchase just to enhance that SEO a little bit. And an SSL certificate, that's required for every e-commerce store. And most of them, you know, Shopify, BigCommerce come with an SSL certificate. WooCommerce, you can get one for free. But if you are looking for more security in an SSL, then you can pay up to $8 per month. So I would say it would fit somewhere in the neighborhood of like $10 to $30 a month is where you would expect WooCommerce to be. But then, yeah, you would, you know, add in development costs for IT if you don't want to do it yourself. You know, it's just hard to estimate what it would actually cost for WooCommerce. So Sona and myself were, you know, mainly a payment processing company. We have been trying to, you know, get into more e-commerce stuff, and that's kind of why we're doing this. Is, you know, I've done a lot of research, and we want to just kind of build awareness around e-commerce. We are still just a payment processing company is kind of our core. So we're definitely nerdy on how you would accept your payments on your e-commerce platform. So you may have heard the term payment gateway before. So what a payment gateway is essentially is the cash register for your e-commerce store. So it allows you to accept credit card transactions online. And like any cash register, you need it to be both secure and convenient. You know, this is definitely important for your brand image and, you know, the customer experience. You don't want them to, there's a fine line between, you know, having the process too quick and not secure, but also too long and kind of giving them a bad experience. And a lot of customers will drop off at the payments portion of the checkout. So making that checkout process as seamless as possible is where the payment gateway comes into play. So there's a good little diagram there on the right. So you can see the customer submits the order to your online store. The online store then tells the payment gateway what the desired action is. Then the payment gateway goes to the issuing bank and then gets the okay from the bank, sends it back to the gateway, sends it back to the store, and then sends it back to the customer to know that, you know, that was a successful transaction. And then usually next day or you know, 2 days from the day that the transaction takes place, you will then receive the payout from that transaction. And then, yeah, so it would basically break down to, you have your e-commerce platform, which handles the selling and the, you know, editing the products and the look of the store. And then you have the payment gateway on the back end that's actually accepting the credit card transactions. Payment gateways, you know, they're very secure. They encrypt customer information. So there's very limited risk of, you know, hacking, and, you know, fraud is limited with some of the CVV code verifications that they do. And they are very secure, and they also have other functions as well. You can use them as a virtual terminal in some cases, batch processing, recurring billing as well. So if you see some e-commerce platforms out there are doing, you know, month to month, and you may have some plans out there with some, like, you know, ordering your contacts on a monthly basis. That's the payment gateway doing the work that's charging you every month for that. So some popular gateway examples. So Stripe, PayPal, Shopify Payments. You've probably heard of these, maybe even used them before. So the way that these are payment facilitators. So the way that they do it, they advertise a fixed rate It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to set up. Usually it's somewhere around 2.9% plus 30 cents. That's the case for all three of these gateways anyway. The thing with this is it is easy to set up. It's easy to understand, but there's no tailored pricing. So it's one size fits all. And then you did see with Shopify payments, as you pay a higher plan, you do have access to a lesser rate. But there is definitely cheaper options out there. The reason that they've been so popular and blowing up, just growing exponentially, is they're just laying it out there. There's not much to understand. It's like, even though it is a really high rate, it's convenient for customers because, especially for Shopify payments, it's already on the site, easy to set up. So, that's kind of why they're growing, is that it's a easy way to understand how you're going to be charged. The thing with this type of pricing is that it can easily be outgrown. As you go up in volumes, as your revenue goes up, that percentage is only going to amount to a higher fee. So as you start to go up in volume, really considering other payment options and looking at a cheaper way to accept transactions is probably in your best benefit, because those costs are going to add up. And then with Stripe and PayPal and Shopify payments, you don't own your own merchant account. So you don't have the control over really chargebacks, when you get your money. These companies, they're kind of just going back to, SaaSbased. It's similar to that, where they're just kind of loaning you or renting you the payment software, the payment gateway. So they usually side on the side with the customer if there's a chargeback dispute. They can withhold funds for no reason. So you don't have your control that you would with your own merchant account. So agnostic gateways are what we work with at Sona. So basically what an agnostic gateway is they can be used with different processors. So like I was mentioning with Stripe and Shopify payments, there's really just one option there. With an authorized.net, you can use pretty much any processing company, which allows you to shop around for better rates. And you can, choose your preferred processing partner there. There's also tailored pricing. So I know with authorized.net and NMI, they do offer a similar flat rate. But if you are to work with a processing company, you can talk with them about, how your business is going to grow, what you sell. You can do more of a tailored rate, and they consider more things than just issuing a rate right away. So yeah, there is some more tailored pricing there. And then I don't want to get too into it. I know we're running, into some time issues here, but interchange pass-through, flat rate. Essentially, what an interchange pass-through does, each credit card has its own cost from Visa, MasterCard. So when you're paying with a base Visa card, it might be somewhere around 1.25%. And then what Shopify and Square or Stripe are doing is they're taking that margin from the base card to what they're charging the business. So with interchange pass-through, you're getting that advantage of the varied costs of the cards, essentially in a nutshell. These payment gateways work with WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and Shopify. But keep in mind with Shopify, there is that transaction fee if you do use one of these agnostic gateways. I did a little comparison based on like $200,000 of volume with $50 transaction size. So with an agnostic gateway, from my experience, it's been about 1% cheaper on average, just depending on the cards, but somewhere around 1% cheaper. So for something on $200,000 of volume, you could be looking at potential savings around $3,000. So that's something to just keep in mind. So that just kind of shows how, as your volume increases, you're going to see higher transaction costs. So it's definitely important to keep that in mind to look around for better options for payment processing. So you've picked a platform. Now, what are your next steps? So you're going to want to build your website and definitely add your products to it. But then comes the question of, do you do it yourself or do you work with a third party? So Shopify and BigCommerce are, really popular, and there's a lot of these development agencies that have popped up because of the growth of the platform. So there's definitely a lot of third parties out there that will help you with your build of your website. So the one that I designed for our client here in Bears Lake, I did the build myself. I got a quote from one of the partnered builders with BigCommerce, and they charged around $4,000. So somewhere in that vicinity of 1,500 to 10,000 is something that you could expect working with a third party to develop your e-commerce platform. So some key takeaways, I really want these to be kind of what you consider. So do your research. I know that there's probably a lot of information and ads out there, just trying to get you to jump into something. Look for reviews, look for references, other businesses, other people that are using the platform. See what the pros and cons are yourself. Really dive into research before you pick one. Think about the future of your business. So once you're on a platform, it's very difficult to migrate. Changing over your products, getting your customers switched over, redesigning a website. It's a tough thing to do, is switch over. So you want to make sure that you're on the right platform from the beginning, and just ensure that the platform that you're on is in line with your business plan. So if you do want to become like a multi-million-dollar a year company, consider, keep those gateways in mind. Consider if it's going to be the right solution for you, and then know your budget. So map out what costs, what's in your budget, and compare it to what you're doing with your research online, and see if it matches up with what you need in a budget. So yeah, I kind of sped through the last little bit just to leave a couple minutes if anybody does have any questions, which I could take now, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Graham. I don't see any in the Q&A, but I did have a couple more submitted beforehand. So we touched on this a little bit, but what are the costs associated with building a successful online platform? Just kind of wrap us up here.
Yeah, so obviously the platform itself, so your subscription to BigCommerce, Shopify, WooCommerce, getting all that done. I would say things like, definitely stuff to consider is marketing. So, if you want to run Facebook ads, if you want to run Instagram ads, consider that, what your budget you want for marketing to be. Also, email marketing is in there as well. And then things like plugins. So if you do need to ship across the world or across Canada, how much is that ShipStation integration going to cost? Just things like that. But I would say the platform itself, the payment processing costs, which sometimes get overlooked, and then marketing as well. So what you want to spend on marketing, because the site can be there, you can design it look pretty, but if you're not putting it out there, nobody's going to go on it. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking to build a successful e-commerce store.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Graham. We're just about out of time here, so I think I'll wrap it up. If anyone has any of those last minute questions, pop it in the Q&A and we'll definitely get to it. This was super informative, Graham. We really appreciate having you on. I've definitely learned a lot today, and I need to do some more promo around some things that we have running. So join us tomorrow if you can for a presentation with Simplycast on their all-in-one communications platform. Chamber members have free access to the platform for at least one full year, so take advantage of that. And on Thursday this week, we're hosting successful entrepreneur and the well-known Barb Stegman, CEO of Seven Virtues, and Claire McKenzie of Edgewood Communications, for a workshop-style event that will empower you to use your fuel to tell your story and grow your business while doing it. Both of those events are free, and it looks like I have one more question. Oh, they just say thank you. Lots of thank yous, Graham. So really great work.
Appreciate it.
And that's it for us. So everyone, you have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.